Hi guys, welcome back to this week's edition of the Coffee and Hero Show. So first of all, I just want to say a big thanks. Everyone seemed to really enjoy the much longer format last week, bringing back the news sort of segments, filling in bits and pieces that happens in the store as well. So, by and large, everybody was very, very positive about it. The video seemed to get more views. So if you're spreading the word out there, thanks as always as well. It's always nice to know people enjoy what we're doing. So yeah, just pass the word, spread it all the way. So yeah, in terms of the store, things are good. We had a really good busy weekend there. But I also got tons of stuff done within the store. I've mentioned before about moving the Marvel section into the middle of the store. I've now expanded that it's still in the middle of the store, but I've expanded it out another couple of bays now. I filled up all the Spider-Man stock, all from upstairs stuff. Some more X-Men went in there, some more X-Factor, a few different bits and pieces, but the idea is for that entire bay to be Marvel. I'm working through it alphabetically, and I'm hoping to be finished it by the end of this week, and then I can finally start on the DC stuff. I always get accused of being so biased in the store towards DC ahead of Marvel, but I did the Marvel section first, and then I'll move on to DC, as I say. So yeah, it's always going to be a work in progress, always adding more and more stock and so forth. So if you ever do have a look through the back issues and there's something not there, just double check with us. We'll be able to check the stock upstairs or have a little look in the website. Speaking of the website, there's around 4,500 issues on there now as well. So always have a look on there. So if there's anything that catches your eye, you can always pay for it in advance, pick it up from the store, or we can post out to you. Options are there either way. So yeah, that's it in terms of the store. And a couple of big events obviously coming up very, very soon. We've got Free Comic Book Day this Saturday. We put out a post saying about the offers we're going to be running and so forth. So with Free Comic Book Day, we must have at least 70 or 80 different titles from this year's Free Comic Book Day range of titles. Some of them we have 100 plus of, some of them we only have 10 or 20 of, but we have pretty much the entire range. So the idea with Free Comic Book Day is we'll have all of those issues all laid out along the counter, along in front of the new releases. And we'll also have some stock from previous years as well, just so you can have a wee flick through there, see if anything catches your eye. Buy anything in store, take one free comic. It can be a bar of chocolate, it can be a can of Coke, it can be a coffee, it can be a comic, whatever. But buy anything in store, one free comic. If you spend over £5 in store, you can take 3 free comics. And then if you spend over £10, you can take 7 free comics. The main thing we do ask is that you only take one of any one issue. We want to make sure these get into as many hands as possible. We don't want people taking 2 and 3 and 4 of something. So we have to be fair with this kind of stuff, and again, make sure as many people get them as possible. We will be open from 9 a.m, so you do have a little bit of an earlier start as opposed to the usual 10 a.m. And then we're going to be running promotions all day in store. So there's going to be a base 15% off everything in store except for single issues. I contemplated single issues as well, but obviously we do the reward card system. We do the 10 issues, get 1 free. That'll still be in operation. So it'll be 15% off everything aside from single issues. So that includes graphic novels, that includes omnibuses, that includes merchandise, that includes figures, that includes CGC graded comics, that includes manga, that includes framed prints. As I say, everything except single issues, blanket 15% off. So, if you've had your eye on an omnibus for a while or a couple of graphics or whatever, Saturday is definitely the day to fill up on that stuff. So yeah, Free Comic Book Day this Saturday, really looking forward to it, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And again, those promotions, they're not limited to the first 10 who walk through the door or anything like that. That's all day long. Obviously, just a wee reminder as well about the Ram V event coming up. Again, I'll probably mention it every single week until we hit it. But obviously, it's a 5th anniversary celebration scenario. It's the 11th of June, a Saturday, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, completely free. You want a selfie with Ram? It's free. You want a signature? It's free. No charges, no hidden charges, nothing like that. We'll obviously have stock on the day if there's some of Ram's titles you want to pick up to get him to sign, that kind of thing. But again, I can't emphasize enough, the event itself is free. What else? A couple of other bits of info just to throw your way. Keep an eye on the podcast network this week, or if you haven't joined the podcast network or subscribed, you can track that down on SoundCloud, you can track it down on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just search Coffee and Heroes Podcast. We're nearing 200 episodes now. We've got everything on there from reviews to monthly preview shows to book clubs to creator interviews. And this week alone, we've 2 creator interviews. So we did one last night. So we were chatting to Clay again, Clayman. We had a cracking conversation, a good 2 hours with him. We went into all kinds of stuff, the couple of issues of Batcat that he didn't do and the reasons behind that, the run itself, future projects. We had a good 15-20 minute conversation on The Batman, the most recent movie and stuff like that. It was a really, really good chat, and I hope to get that out by around Thursday. There is a review show being posted on there tonight, which covers some picks of the week from previous months. And then, as I say, we have another interview on Thursday, but I'll keep that one under wraps for now for who that is. So there's always content going on there. Keith and I have looked at even rejigging it slightly, maybe doing a monthly review show as opposed to weekly, but making sure there's weekly content. You know, we'll get more book clubs in, we'll get more starting points in. You know, we want to make sure that there are resources for new readers as much as possible, as well as obviously seasoned readers who are following along the new releases with us. So definitely worth checking out the podcast. Just search Coffee and Heroes Show on any of those formats and you'll be good to go. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the store, as much as I can go into. But a few different pieces of news caught my eye this week I thought were definitely worth throwing out your way. I mean, it's not news, I suppose, but obviously Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is out this week. We have our tickets booked for Friday. We're going in at 6:30. I thought it was very important to make sure I saw it before Free Comic Book Day. I get the feeling there might be a bit of conversation about it, but as ever, you know, just be mindful in the store if you can about spoilers, talking about things too loud. Obviously, anyone that comes in here is interested in this kind of stuff, so if they don't get a chance to see it straight away, chances still are they want to see it. So just be mindful of spoilers. Everyone's always been great in the store about not saying spoilers too loudly and things like that, but just like to throw it out there every so often. But yeah, very, very much looking forward to it. Can't wait to see what Sam Raimi has cooked up for it. So that is this Friday. Wednesday obviously sees the end of Moonlight, the 6-issue limited series event. We haven't started it yet, but I hope to get watching that this week and just watch all 6-issue episodes, I should say, as well. Speaking of movie news, the Batman 2 officially got announced this week as well, or towards the end of last week. I mean, we all knew it was going to happen, but there's always something nice about seeing something official come out. You know, the fact that the Batman is a 3-hour dark noir violent detective movie and it made $750 million has to be applauded. You know, it was I thought it was phenomenal. I'll get around to doing a review yet. I think I might try and tie it in with the Blu-ray release and throw it out there and throw my thoughts. But you know, sequel coming up. Give us the Court of Owls. You know, please just give us the Court of Owls. But the one thing I really hope that we don't get is the Joker. I think I'm all Jokered out for now. You know, you had the Joaquin Phoenix movie, you had Jared Leto's version, you had Heath Ledger's definitive version, and all of those have been in the last 15 years. So let's take a little break. We know the Joker's there. Have a quick scene of him in an Arkham, but let's have something fresh. You know, Court of Owls, or give us Hush, or you know, give us something interesting like Clayface or Two-Face, or I don't know. But we'll wait and see. But I'm just really, really happy to see that it has been greenlit. One thing in terms of comics I thought was worth pointing out that came up this week was there was some news coming up that Frank Miller, he of some of the greatest graphic novels of all time, is reuniting with former DC Comics co-publisher Dan DiDio, and they're setting up a brand new publishing label. Pardon me. The name of the publishing company is going to be Frank Miller Presents. He's already apparently working on continuation/prequels to Sin City and Ronin, but I've seen some other creators talking about like how they would like to get on this label and create new content. I mean, this sounds really exciting to me. You know, Frank Miller, of course, he's not what he once was in terms of his writing, his output, but you know, you cannot underestimate the effect that Frank Miller had in the industry. You know, with Batman Year One, you know, Daredevil Born Again, with Dark Knight Returns, with Sin City. I mean, he massively elevated it to an adult art form, as much as, you know, Alan Moore certainly did with Swamp Thing and Watchmen and all these kinds of things. You know, so they moved it away from it just being funny books about superheroes punching each other in the face to, you know, adult story-driven content, and they really elevated the art form. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he comes up with, and it'll be interesting to see Dan DiDio back in the publishing wing as well. But I had to finish off with the sad news, unfortunately, this week. I mean, an absolute titan of the industry passed away, and that was Neil Adams. So, passed away at the age of 80. And Neil Adams, I don't think you can underestimate his value to comics in all facets. You know, phenomenal artist. He, you know, took Batman and elevated him. He took Green Lantern and Green Arrow and elevated them. He did X-Men stuff. He did a little bit of everything. He's probably responsible for, again, just as Frank Miller was for elevating Batman up a level and getting people to take these things a little bit more seriously. You know, we had the pleasure of meeting him a few years ago over at the London Film and Comic Con, and you know, he was on a Batman panel with maybe 5 or 6 other guys, David Finch, Frank Quitely, a few others. And he was by far the most vocal, the one with all the stories to tell, the one that had the most passion. And even then, he was in his mid-70s, but his passion for the industry can't be underestimated. But if there's one thing I could really recommend just to show for his legacy, it's worth searching out. Robert Kirkman did a show called The Secret History of Comics, and one of them was all about Superman, and it was all about, you know, Siegel and Schuster and them not being paid properly for Superman, not being given credit for creating the character. And a young Neil Adams became a trailblazer just to get them the credit they deserved and to get creators in general. I mean, it used to be, you go back to older comics, writers and artists' names weren't even on covers. You know, but Neil Adams was a force for changing that. He was a force for getting them proper workers' rights. He was a force for getting artists to be given their original pages back and things like that. And you know, he was a man who was driven, loved the industry. The outpouring of love and emotion and you know, sadness at his passing was tangible, you know, was everywhere. So he's one of my favorites of all time. He drew my personal favorite cover of all time, which is Batman 251 as well. Although I say that Batman 244 had a huge impression on me as a kid as well. Batman 244 was a cover, it was obviously where Ra's al Ghul and Batman had fought in the desert. And the cover had Ra's al Ghul holding the Batsuit as if he had ripped it off Batman, and Batman in the foreground with like a sword sticking out of his chest. I remember I was 9 or 10 when I first saw that cover, and you know, I cried my eyes out, you know, going, Batman can't die, this is terrible. But always left an impression on me, and yes, I do now own that issue. So yeah, rest in peace, Neil Adams. Absolutely one of a kind and one of the absolute greats of the industry. So yeah, that'll do it pretty much for news. So let us just have a look then at this week's pull list. So this week's pull list, it's an interesting one because Free Comic Book Day always results in a slightly smaller pull list because it's almost like they know people are going to come out to stores as it is. They don't want to weigh stores down with tons of new content on top of all the Free Comic Book Day stuff. So it is a slightly quieter week. I mean, he says a slightly quieter week, but this is my pull list. So yeah, kick things off. We have first the second issue then of Batman Beyond Neo Year. So issue 2, I go for the variants of this. Beautiful Christian Ward one for the first one. And then with the second one, so again, this is Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig co-writing. Did a great job in the first issue. It's Max Dunbar on art as well. And I love the first issue of this. So we've tons of the number 2s in as well, so do not miss out on that. You know, you're probably bored listening to me talk about Deadly Class, but here I am talking about it again. But yeah, we're up to issue 52. We're approaching the end game. The storyline's called A Fond Farewell. Don't need to say much more about it, but it continues to be one of the best comics on the racks. Speaking of Rick Remender, we're up to issue 7 for A Righteous Thirst for a Vengeance. Pardon me. So this is the Rick Remender and Andre Lima Arroyo. Sort of a noir detective action-y type story. The trade is out for the first story arc, which I believe is the first 5 issues, which we have over on the racks, and really, really good stuff there as well. Then we have Radiant Black, and this is worth pointing out for 2 reasons. One, because it's just an absolutely brilliant series. We're up as far as issue 14 now for the Kyle Higgins Marcello Costa original, but I just love this homage cover to the original Wolverine Hulk cover. It even says here Marcello Costa after McFarlane was of course a classic Todd McFarlane cover. We also have Once and Future number 25 this week. So again, we're running down the clock on Once and Future. This is the start of the final arc, which is going to be issues 25 to 30. It will be 5 graphic novels in total, or it'll be 2 hardcovers in total. But single issue wise, we're at number 25 again. Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, Tamara Von Villen, been with it from the start. We'll definitely be sad to see it go. Next up we have Firepower, so Robert Kirkman, Chris Samney, again another one of my favourites. We're technically in the 5th story arc, if you include the original graphic novel, which I do. Because you had the original graphic novel, which is essentially is volume 0. Volume 1 covered 1 to 6, volume 2 was 7 to 12, volume 3 was 13 to 18. So it's the 3 volumes plus the 0 volume, and then we're up as far as issue 20. So we're hip deep in volume 5 then of Firepower. Rogue Sun's another one for me this week. This actually came out last week, but I didn't have enough copies. I was slightly shorted by Diamond, so I didn't have enough copies to bring my own home. I'm looking forward to this for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's a great series, but I read 1 and 2 months ago before we interviewed Ryan Parrott for the podcast, and he had sent us digital copies of 1 and 2, so I knew how they both ended before they came out. So I've been waiting on issue 3 for quite a while. A new one definitely look forward to this week, coming from the team of Scotty Young and Kyle Strahm, is Tweak. We've ordered quite a lot of these in. This is the original cover, but we also have some Scotty Young variants for it as well. But Scotty Young, I think, has been growing brilliantly as a writer, between The Me You Love in the Dark and Middle West Alone and Strange Academy. I think he's one of the most interesting voices out there in comics. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. A Star Wars comic has made it into my pull list. So, Star Wars Obi-Wan. This is going to be a 5-issue miniseries. It's going to focus on an older Obi-Wan reminiscing about his younger life, some of the adventures he got into. So I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Ewan McGregor interpretation of the character. Looking forward to the TV show. And of course, you can't have all this Obi-Wan imagery without Darth Vader at the bottom. You just can't. A new one as well this week is Quests Aside. This is a Vault comic series. This is one that I remember being in the previews book that we pointed out. Just looked like good fantasy, adventure, good olden times type stuff. Love the art style of it as well. So definitely one to look forward to this week. Another one is Metal Society from Zach Kaplan and Gilmer Balby. This is one that the closest I can equate this to is there was a Hugh Jackman sort of mech boxing movie that came out called Real Steel. This seems to be a little bit like that, but a bit more adult as well. So it introduces a really interesting looking future. And again, I'm looking forward to tucking into that. On Sunday there, I got caught up in some good reading, and I got caught up on Deathstroke Inc. and on Robin. Loving Shadow War so far, and now we're as far as issue 1, 2, 3 of Batman, which of course is Shadow War Part 5. So yeah, keep that coming. Great stuff. Batman Killing Time as well. We have the middle issue of this 6-issue miniseries. So Tom King, David Marquez, of course. Again, focusing on those classic villains. You've got Riddler, you've got Catwoman, you've got Penguin. And again, just a really great return to classic villains rather than always having to create new ones. Next up, we have Flashpoint Beyond. So, of course, we had the Flashpoint Beyond Zero setting this up. Now we're moving on to the main series in earnest. So, Jeff Johns back to playing the Flashpoint Beyond universe. And, of course, the play around again with Thomas Wayne as Batman. This is up there as cover of the week for me just because it really evokes the classic John Ostrander type Suicide Squad stuff. But this is Task Force Z, who's joining the team. So you've got 9 different villains or characters here. They're not all villains. Obviously you have Nightwing there. But you've got Nightwing, you've got Catwoman, you've got Ra's al Ghul, you've got Penguin, you've got Joker, Riddler, Scarecrow, Batwoman, and Poison Ivy. And it's saying who's joining the team now. If you're reading Shadow War and you're reading Task Force Z and how they recruit people to their team, the answer should be blindingly obvious, but I'm not going to give it away here. Next up, we have the Rocketeer. So the first issue of this was just great, fun, adventure-y, nostalgic. It's Rocketeer, the Great Race. Of course, this comes from Stephen Mooney, good Irish creator as well. It's the 40th anniversary of the Rocketeer. And again, the first one was just good old-fashioned, pulpy fun. Next up, we have Spiderman Exodus 2099. So this is the first issue of this event from Steve Orlando. This is the alpha issue. So, of course, this is setting up where we're going to be going. And then, of course, we'll get on to the Exodus single issues after this. And then, of course, there'll be an Omega at the end. Then the last two, I'm just going to hide that one for a second. The last two, so again, this is Captain America Zero. This was, again, almost like an alpha issue to set up the 2 directions that it's going in. One with a Sam Wilson title, one with a Steve Rogers title. And this was the Sam Wilson covers. Again, these were supposed to come out 2 weeks ago with us, but they've been late in coming, and I just held off until now. But I'm looking forward to that. I've heard really good stuff. And then the last one, I'm sorry, I have to brag a little bit about this one, but it's just such a thing of beauty I wanted to share. Obviously, I'm a huge Batman guy. I'm a huge Jock fan. I collect the 1 to 50 variants for Batman at the moment, which were silver foil for a while there, done by Jock, but they've changed it up a little bit. I'm delighted it's still Jock, but now it's gold. Look at that beauty. Absolutely phenomenal. I said Task Force said maybe the cover of the week, but I only said maybe because this is out this week. But my God, what a cover. Absolutely glorious. And so shiny. So yeah, that is my pull list for this week. But of course, there are other stuff beyond that. There's, as well as Star Wars Obi-Wan, there's the main Star Wars title this week as well, for example. There's a few things that I don't read, but again, they'll all be in the racks, and you can check out the photos we post, as always, on the Wednesday morning, the New Comic Book Day post there. So we move away from my pull list, and we move on to what's new in this week. So decent wee graphic novel selection coming in, so these are all new onto the shelves. I should say as well that we have a different manga supplier, and I placed an order last week for around 400 quid worth of manga, so there's going to be tons of manga coming in the next week or so. So again, keep an eye on the socials and we'll certainly share that stuff. But in terms of graphics and so forth, then this week we kick things off with Star Wars The Empire. So this is part of the Star Wars Legends line. This is essentially how Marvel are printing the old Dark Horse stuff and integrating it into the Marvel universe, or under the Marvel banner, I suppose. So they put it under Legends. So with this one, this collects Star Wars Republic 78 to 80, and then a bunch of mini-series. So you've got Star Wars Purge, Star Wars Purge Seconds to Die, The Hidden Blade, The Tyrant's Fist, Darth Vader and the Lost Command, Star Wars Dark Times, that's 17 issues, Blue Harvest, Dark Times Out of the Wilderness, Darth Vader and the Ghost Prison 1 to 5 as well. So a big, massive omni for the Star Wars lovers out there. It's under the subtitle, as I say, of The Empire. So, yep, new in this week into the omnibus section. Next up we have back in stock is Joker. So this, of course, is the hardcover collecting the first 6 issues, I believe, of Joker, which I am loving. The Joker has been James Tynion writing it. It's been Guillaume March mostly on art. There's been the odd fill-in artist along the way, but this has been fantastic, and I love the detail of went into with the cover, with the indented ha-ha-has the whole way up it. Also back in stock this week, although I didn't receive all my copies, I should have had more, but back in stock is Moonlight. This is the complete collection by Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood, Jordi Belair on colours as well. So this was a 14-issue mini-series. It was pretty definitive when it came out. So for those who've been enjoying Moon Knight or lamenting the fact that it's about to end, that's where you want to jump back in. Nice House on the Lake is back in stock this week. Again, early contender for title of last year and this year. I mean, it's still got another 4 issues to come out in single issue form, so I hold back on that a little bit. I'd call it more of this year's title because it's going to end this year. But yeah, second title along the way here for James Tynion IV. Artist on this one is Alvaro Martinez Bueno, and Jordi Belair on colours again. She's popping up everywhere. But yeah, Nice House on the Lake, phenomenal. First 6 issues. It's going to be a 12-issue mini-series, so it will be 2 volumes. That's volume 1 back on the racks this week. Continue to get in the epic collections as we like to do. So an Incredible Hulk one has landed this week, which is called Crossroads. This is volume 13 of Hulk, essentially. So volume 13 covers 1984 to 1985. It's almost as old as me. This is Incredible Hulk 297 to 313. Also includes the annual number 13 and Alpha Flight 29. Next up we have Department of Truth, volume 3 hitting this week. So this is covering Department of Truth 6 and 7 and 14 to 17. Now the reason there's a little break there is because Department of Truth does like 5-issue arcs and has 1 or 2 one-shots with different artists, then goes back to like its 5-issue arcs. So what this is actually collecting together is all those one-shots. So 6 and 7 had art from Elsa Charretier and Tyler Boss. Then 14 to 17 is John J. Pearson, David Romero, Allison Sampson, and Jorge Fornes as well. So just fleshes out the world of Department of Truth. Then a little bit of a theme running for the next one. There's been a lot of guys recently requesting more and more stuff on metal. People going back to the original Dark Knight's metal, Scott Snyder. So of course back in stock this week is the main event itself. So Dark Knight's metal, this essentially covers 1 to 6 of Dark Knight's metal, but also it has Batman Lost, number 1, and Dark Knight's Rising, The Wild Hunt. So altogether that's the main book. Then you have Dark Knight's Metal, The Resistance. This was essentially the tie-in mini-series. There was 2 series basically. One was called The Resistance and one was called Bats Out of Hell. And they were collected alongside issues from Teen Titans, Nightwing, Suicide Squad, Justice League, etc., etc. But that's all in here and all in sequential order for you. It contains the first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs as well. And then speaking of the Batman Who Laughs, we have the great hardcover of the Jock and Scott Snyder Batman Who Laughs miniseries. So this was a 7-issue miniseries in total, but it also had a one-shot called The Grim Knight, and that's contained in here as well. Brilliant standalone series on its own, but also if you finish Metal and you're looking for something to jump back into, the world of Metal and the characters that were created there, Batman Who Laughs is the way to go. Next up, back in stock, because we sold out last week, we have Batman 0. Fortnite. So again, this contains the 6-issue miniseries, but it also contains, probably most importantly for those who are interested in it, all of the download codes to give you the different skins to play and use in Fortnite. So as I say, the graphic novel contains all those codes, and then the 6 codes all combine to give you like a cool Batman skin to use in the game. Another one that always has to stay on the shelves because it's just freaking brilliant is Harleen. Stefan Sajic reimagining of the downfall of Harleen Quinzel into Harley Quinn. You know, an almost supermodel-esque Joker in it. Just phenomenal book. Still, to my mind, this and Wonder Woman Dead Earth are always like a dead tie for me for best Black Label book so far, but absolutely essential. Next up, we have Black Widow back in stock. So volume 1 of the Kelly Thompson, Elena Casagrande run. So it's called The Ties That Bind. So again, a good starting point. It's issues 1 to 5, so really good one to jump in for the uninitiated. Next up is a Vault comic series that I've talked about a lot in single issue form. I've collected and read it all through there. And that is a series called Witchblood. This essentially mixes together supernatural with Western with a wicked sense of humor. It's a thicker graphic than normal, which is always a good thing. Plenty to sink your teeth into. Yes, that was a bad pun. But it's really, really good storytelling, so highly recommend that from a personal point of view. That Texas Blood, Volume 2 back in stock. I mean, Volume 1 of That Texas Blood was brilliant. Volume 2 elevated it even more. Volume 2 essentially dealt with a murderous cult and kidnappings, and it was all set back in the 80s. Brilliant stuff. I mean, I enjoyed this arc so much. I own a couple of original pages from That Texas Blood just because of how good this story arc was. One for the younger readers, we have Tales of the Super Pets. So this is collecting classic stories involving the super pets. So the likes of Crypto, the likes of Streaky the Super Cat, and Ace the Bat Hound, for example. But not everyone has met Aquaman's pet octopus, Topo, Comet the Flying Horse, or the Fantastic Super Monkey. So this collects stuff from all older issues, Action Comics in the 260s, Batman in the 100s, Superboy issues, etc., etc. But again, all in one convenient little place. Star Wars Age of Rebellion, villains in as well. We've had heroes in for a little while, but now we have villains as well. This was essentially a series of one-shots that all fell under the Age of Resistance banner. Age of Rebellion banner. And then they've collected all the one-shots in here. So you've got the one-shots for Boba Fett, Darth Vader, Jabba the Hutt, and Grand Moff Tarkin, as well as some other material as well. Down to the last couple now. So Sandman, they're continuing to release these volumes. So we're up to volume 3 for Sandman. There's going to be 4 volumes in total in this new format. These formats contain a good 20 issues each time. So you've got Sandman 38 to 56, plus Vertigo Preview, which has a story, arcs, brief lives, and World's End, among others. Again, we've volumes 1 and 2 still on the racks, so perfect for jumping into. Beyond the Breach was a fun little series from Aftershock Comics. This was a 5-issue mini-series, all to do with like a Terran that mixed 2 dimensions together. Really, really fun. You know, there was this screw-up girl who ends up taking in this little kid, trying to protect him through all this madness. But again, really, really good fun. Ed Brisson on that, and artist was Damien Cucchiero. Then we have Batman Hush, again back in stock, an absolute classic of the Batman canon. This comes from Batman Volume 1. It was Batman issues 608 to 619. Then you also have some behind-the-scenes content in this. This is Jim Lee's magnum opus. This is his best work art-wise. Fired on all cylinders, from a great script from Jeff Loeb, who I always like to remind people wrote, he wrote Long Halloween, which is brilliant, but he wrote Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And again, a lovely thick one to get your teeth into. Beautiful, beautiful series, and top 5 Batman of all time. And then we finish it off with Thor: The Complete Collection by Jason Aaron, Volume 5. This brings an end to those classic volumes of Thor. So this contains Thor when they relaunched it in 2018, issues 1 to 16. But also has King Thor 1 to 4 as well. So this basically brings it all the way to the end for Jason Aaron. 5 volumes in total. I think I showed off the omnibus we had last week. I think there'll be 2 of those to have everything in it. But if you like these thick trade paperbacks, then that's where you finish off on that. So that's going to do it for another week on the Coffee and Hero Show. Hope you guys enjoyed this as always. Hope it proved useful. Again, just keep in mind this Saturday, free comic book day. Keep in mind June 11th, the Ram V signing in store. And beyond that, we'll look forward to seeing you in store soon. So hope you're staying safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take it easy.